and welcome to This is USG, a video podcast by the universities at Shady Grove. 9 universities, 1 campus, great results. I'm Khademian, Executive Director of USG. One of the most exciting additions to USG over the past couple of years is the Lab for Entrepreneurship and Transformative Leadership, or what we have come to simply call the Entrepreneurship Lab, or the Lab. Joining me today to discuss the lab and a new program, the 8-week Entrepreneur Bootcamp, or Equity Incubator, which culminated in a dynamic Shark Tank-like competition and a $10,000 grand prize to help launch the winning venture, are my following guests. First of all, I'd like to welcome Marc Steren, Founding Director of the Entrepreneurship Lab. Marc, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Anne. Good evening.
Great to have you here. Seema Alexander, the founder and chief strategy officer of Disruptive. Seema, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Me too. And Filipe de Padua, founder and CEO of the grand prize winning team from Code and Play LLC. Welcome, Filipe.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you all here. I thought, we're at a time in our economy, in our country, hopefully coming out of COVID, where the entrepreneurial mindset, thinking like an entrepreneur has never been more important, right? To tackle the problems we have, not only through a business lens, but through a social lens, just like the Equity Incubator, which we'll talk about in a moment. And to really think about how to look at problems differently, how to tackle problems differently. And so the work that you all are doing is so critical and so important. I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourself and to say a little bit about yourself as an entrepreneur. Why are you an entrepreneur? Marc, let's start with you.
Sure, thanks. Why am I an entrepreneur? That's such a great question. I think I was given the proper environment to be an entrepreneur through family, through my school, and that's what we're trying to provide at USG. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, for at least adult life, for the last 25 years. Had 5 different companies, and I'm on my 6th now. But there's something special about working with the USG, all our partners, students, members like Filipe. It's amazing to take the entrepreneurship mindset, take their ability to take risks and chances and really develop their own concepts, and move forward and develop like a great company like Filipe. So it's been fun, and the lab is just an amazing place to work.
Thanks so much, Marc. Seema, introduce yourself and tell us a little about your approach to entrepreneurship. Why are you an entrepreneur?
Wow, where do you start? Look, for a living, for my company, we focus on business growth strategy, helping companies and expert entrepreneurs truly find their unique position in the market to scale. But all of this started when I was a little itty girl. Like, my parents were immigrants from India. Literally, I'm 2nd generation, came here with nothing, one of those stories. Long story short, they started the first Indian vegetarian restaurant in Washington, D.C., so catty corner to the White House. And as growing up in a small business, you watch something thrive and excel, and then over a 20-year span, it went close to bankruptcy and everything shut down. So when I was 15, I really learned when businesses do well, there's just a whole different level of confidence in the founder and just continued momentum. But when they don't, which are 90% of the time, as you guys know, all the statistics, it takes a toll on relationships and life and health and everything else, right? And so my path really started at that stage of being obsessive of why businesses fail and why they succeed. I ended up first running away from entrepreneurship to New York City. I spent 13 years in corporate America at Prudential Financial, always in business and growth strategy, understanding at that point the evolution that when you are who you are when you first start in business is never where you end up. And over the years, for the last 10 years, I've been consulting over 1,000 CEOs and founders, heavily focused on female entrepreneurs and acceleration program under a methodology that I've created really to help individuals, again, reconcile sort of their brand and their business model so they can truly scale their expertise, change the world, and make more money doing what they love. So that's my background. I love entrepreneurship.
What a great job helping people change the world. Fantastic. I'm doing it as well. That's great. Thank you, Seema. Filipe, tell us a bit about yourself and about how you came to be an entrepreneur.
Yes, absolutely. So similar to Seema, I also immigrated to the US a few years ago. I was actually first generation. I came here by myself to study at college first, and then I graduated um, and moved here again to continue my studies and also to work. So I'm originally from Brazil, and there's a lot of entrepreneurs there, but unfortunately, the environment is not as good as at least right now as the US. So I try to take advantage of it. I was very lucky to be in Maryland. I studied at College Park first, and I had a lot of opportunities there. I met a lot of students that were like-minded. They wanted to start their own business, and that really started to impact me as well. So I didn't arrive here just thinking about entrepreneurship. I probably arrived here as most people in the tech field wanting a job for Google and Microsoft.
Mhm.
But with time, I started to change my mindset and see that I could also create my own business. I could also build new things and not just work for another company. It's nice too, but I can also create things if I want as well.
I want to just reflect on that point for a moment that, many of us do, is especially we're coming out of college, we just want a good job and an exciting one as well. But to take that next step and say, wait a minute, I can create my own Google or
Mhm.
I can create my own company. That's a huge leap. I mean, that's a really big transition. What was that like for you? I mean, were there people helping you think through that, or was it an aha moment, or how did you come to that you knew you could create your own business?
I think for me, it started slowly. I had many ideas um, during my life, and I never really started a business. I always had that last moment where I would step back and not do it because I would think I would fail or it was not good enough of an idea to move forward. So it took some time, but with like seeing other people with time, I saw that they could succeed, that at the beginning they all struggle, they all have, doubts, they don't have all the answers, but with time you're able to overcome these challenges and succeed. So for me, I think it took maybe like 2, 3 years until I actually had that moment that I decided that I'm gonna open this business, I'm gonna start this business, and that was Code and Play, my business. And from there, I learned a lot and have been evolving a lot since then.
So we'll talk more about that as we go along, but thank you for sharing that insight. I think that's really important for people to hear. It's tough, but it's possible as well. So Marc, could you tell us a little bit about the lab? The lab is a hub for a lot of really exciting things happening at USG right now. Could you tell us a little bit about how the lab operates and maybe some of the initiatives that are underway at the lab right now?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. We are really kind of looking to be the epicenter of social entrepreneurship in Montgomery County. We want to be that place that connects businesses to our students, not just at the collegiate and graduate level, but also to help those in the high school and even middle school students that are in Montgomery County. So we're really thinking about how we can support these entrepreneurs, these budding, amazing entrepreneurs with great ideas. And entrepreneurship is super lonely. There is so much that needs to be done between HR, the legal provisions, state regulations, hiring, and inspiring your team and having accountability as you implement OKRs. So you need that support system. And USG, we really believe we can be that support system. We've had a great start to the year. We've had the Equity Incubator, which Filipe won, and some amazing teams. But we've had a DEI hackathon. We have a class in the spring. We've also put on different events. We work with nonprofits to put a girls hackathon that we're going to do in February. So we're really supporting our students, but we're really supporting the community in general.
That's great. Before moving on to the next question, Marc, could you just give us a little bit of an introduction about what is the Equity Incubator? Give us a little bit of background on that. I know it's an 8-week boot camp for entrepreneurs, but how did it come about, and how is it structured?
Yeah, it was actually the brainchild of John Zudnick, our business community partners leader at USG. And we, through a generous grant from MCEDC, 8 weeks of really from not just inception, but the all processes that all startups go through: customer development, speaking with customers, prototyping, running experiments, bringing in different philosophies of entrepreneurship, from jobs to be done to lean methodology to, just experiments, really learning from the customer. So it's an 8 week intensive boot camp where every week they had to come in for workshops, they had to meet with their mentors, and then we had additional office hours where we met with many of these teams. And the results were just beyond the pale. We were so excited with these teams and what they were able to accomplish. But it really goes beyond the traditional incubator of just supporting them. We really put them through a very strict curriculum, as if as if they were in one of our courses, and they really flourished. It's pretty exciting to see.
Fantastic, thank you. Seema, you are a business leader who's now working closely with the lab in a number of ways. Tell us a little bit about how you work with the lab, how you support students, and then tell us a bit about being a mentor for the Equity Incubator as well, because that's an important role that you're playing here.
Yeah, I think Marc and I got to know each other last year, and then I found out about his role at the lab. And so I think this is the second program that I've been asked to be a mentor for. One was his actual course, which was a team of individuals also who went through the course, and week by week we met and really worked through to pitch the same sort of structure of this. And then of course the equity, this particular program where I met Filipe as my mentee. And I would tell you, what I love about what Marc said, and like the problem you guys are solving, is entrepreneurship is lonely at the end of the day, right? I always say you're never self-made, right? You need the support, you need the help, right? But when you have community around you to help support and guide you through the process, when the days that you're stuck, or just the days that you haven't thought about, this part of the strategy or this, and that's what I continue to see in the work that you guys are doing, which I find fascinating and really a great resource for the community. So as a mentor, I mean, I think it's simple. If you have real business experience, it's not always just about the wins, it's about the losses too, right? And I think, one, to Marc's point, there is a curriculum that, the students are guided week by week. So it gives a little framework to the mentors as well. But at the end of the day, if you listen and you guide, you create accountability practices, you add value and connections where you can, that's where I think things start to flourish. And every time the students have surprised me, I mean, Filipe he was an amazing mentee. We met every week religiously, and we talked through different parts of his expansion strategy because of also COVID and how it impacted his business. So I think there's it's just a great program. So I'm happy to be part of it so far, and hopefully in the future as well.
I think that direct experience, that direct mentoring, a chance to connect with someone who's been through the ups and the downs and has become successful as well, is so crucial. Direct hands-on experiential learning, mentoring, nothing more important right now. So thank you so much, Seema, for what you're doing in support of the program. It's fantastic. And speaking of your mentee, Filipe, let's talk about your experience in the incubator. How did you find out about it? You applied for it. Tell us about that experience. It's, kind of what it was like going through that experience. And then what was it like winning at the end? What are you going to do with your prize money? So just walk us through, how did you learn about this, and what did you expect, and what did you get out of it as well?
Yeah, so starting with how I found out about the program, the incubator, was through the website. It was a funny story. I started my MBA last fall, and I had to choose a campus, either DC, Baltimore, or Shady Grove. And I chose Shady Grove mostly without seeing it. It was just my intuition. I picked it. But when I got there, I was really amazed with all the infrastructure and all the buildings, all the activities, all the community. So I was really lucky. So I connected to the website the first week and I saw the opportunity on the website and I decided to apply for the incubator. And a few weeks later, I heard back from Catherine, who works closely with Marc. She asked a bunch of questions and then I went through the next stage. And then a while later, I got approved. I got accepted into the incubator. So it was an amazing experience. Again, I was still in that very initial stage, trying to figure out all the resources at USG. But it was amazing finding the pretty library, the gym, all the places to study, and all the other students from other universities there as well. So it was a great, great experience. And I got to meet Professor Steren, Marc. He was amazing, teaching the course in a very fast pace. A few weeks, he was able to cram all the years of his experience into a course. And also I got the privilege of having Seema as my mentor. She donated her time to help my business every week. So I really appreciate that. And she was very crucial for many decisions that I've made during my business.
Before,
Yeah.
I'm just going to jump in here. I wanted to say, before you start talking about what you're doing, could you tell us about CodePlay? Tell us about your company and what it is you do, and then we can go into thinking about what you're going to do next. I'd love to hear an overview of your company.
Yes, absolutely. So they helped me not launch, the company already existed, but help bring to the next level Code and Play. So Code and Play is an online platform that teaches coding and computer science related courses. So we provide classes in real time taught by real engineers. So we are committed to provide a better education, a STEM education for kids, but also right now we're also focusing on adults as well.
That's great. That's great. It's so needed right now. So,
Yes.
so you won the grand prize. I get to say I was a judge in all of that. It was so much fun. We even had the Shark Tank music as part of the build up and the excitement. So even as a judge, it was a lot of fun. But you were selected to win. Tell us what that means for you, winning the Equity Incubator, and how will those resources help you in the next stage of building your company?
Yeah, so I'm very humbled to have received this prize. I think it was just like the cherry at the top. I think just the experience at the incubator, all the help from Seema as the mentor and Professor Steering during class, and also all the other entrepreneurs with their own business, just that experience by itself is already very worth it. So I think the competition is more of a way for you to really push forward and show that you can really overachieve, but just participating in the incubator itself was already a great experience. So just winning the competition was just an extra, cherry on the top of all these great resources that I have access to.
Fantastic. Marc, can you tell us a little about some of the other participants in the Equity Incubator as well? We have this fantastic Code and Play company that won, and Filipe's company. But what are some of the other entrants that were in the Equity Incubator?
Yeah, so it was great. It was 5 teams, and we had teams from one amazing individual. She was helping women who were abused or homeless get back on their feet. And she went from a concept to instituting a complete go-to-market plan where she had a phase-out plan. She was helping, tons of women get back on their feet, get back into their homes. It was incredible. We also had, obviously Filipe's company. We had a team that kind of spun out of former NASA employees who came up with this amazing financial, product that is being used in multiple verticals. I mean, she's an amazing young lady who came from Broadway, and now she has her own company, and it's just unbelievable. We had a group that, really educated individuals in Maryland about the population of Madagascar and building this Madagascarian community where they went from a small, impact on just a few, maybe 30 or 40 people to impacting hundreds of individuals by the end of the incubator. So it's just, and another one was a file sharing, photos file sharing company for parents who feel a lot of anxiety, not knowing what their kids are going through these different, institutions as they're trying to, help these kids. Parents feel very isolated. There's very nominal types of communication, and they're changing that where parents every day can see through photos what their child is going through every day. And it's just reconnecting them to their children. It's just, I mean, what a privilege it is to work with these students and these members of the community. But I think Filipe said it really well. The support system of each other, of other entrepreneurs going through. There were times, when the workshops would end and these entrepreneurs would just stay and brainstorm different opportunities that they could work together on. It was just fabulous. And then having incredible people like Seema guide them, it's just a win for everybody. So it was a lot of fun.
That's fantastic. Seema, I hear in Filipe's story, there's a lot of, very humble perspective. It's a tough job, but recognizing everyone who collaborates and works together. And, I'm seeing the entrepreneurial mindset in a way that is not only innovative and creative, but also team oriented, and knowing how to utilize great partnerships as resources as well. Tell us about how you see, what is an entrepreneurial mindset to you, or what are some of the skills or the qualities that some of the best entrepreneurs are bringing to the table, or that you would hope to nurture as a mentor in entrepreneurs?
Wow, this is a great question. Vulnerability, courage, consistency, empathy, gratitude. Holy moly, I can just keep going because I think it's such a privilege to take that leap and become an entrepreneur and try to solve a real problem in the world. And you should just realize when you do that, you're solving someone's problem. They're probably wishing for you, like in a lot of ways, right? And I the mindset of an entrepreneur, I mean, God, I always say, you see these charts and they go like this, right? Oh yeah, you go up and up and da, da, da. And I'm like, yeah, the first year you grow and this and this and this. And it's not true, right? This is resiliency is probably one of the biggest things with entrepreneurs, because in the beginning, you're truly throwing spaghetti against the wall. You don't know what you don't know. You're just trying to figure out market product fit, and where you play at your strengths, what you like, what you don't like, all the ideal and unideal client, all the stuff, right? And so it takes time. That's the one thing. So that whole thing about courage and consistency, even if you fall then the first and second year, just get right back up, right? Go through programs like this one, get a mentor, get a guide, get a consultant, whatever, keep going, because this stuff takes time. So that would be, I think, in terms of mindset, just really resilience is probably one that sticks out the most out of all the ones that I shared with you.
That's great. I just, it just fills my heart to hear how important empathy, vulnerability, courage, compassion, teamwork. This is wonderful. It is a mindset that's good not only for creating great businesses, but it's great for the world as well. Filipe, I wonder if you'd be willing to share with us what's been one of your most difficult challenges in building this company? What stands out for you as a real challenge, or something you had to really struggle to get through? Can you share with us one of your most difficult parts of building this business so far?
So far.
I believe, I guess, time management for everybody. So I am pursuing my MBA right now, so I have classes. I also have some work that I do at the university, and then I have my startup. So it's really hard to really manage your time. And it's very easy to just try to fall for the more guaranteed pathway. So maybe just your degree or your job that is already paying you and forget about entrepreneurship. So I think managing your time and also being consistent and disciplined is very important, because many days you're tired after work or after class and you just don't want to spend time on your business, but you have to really spend the time doing it. So that's why it's important to do something that you really enjoy, because you're going to have to spend a lot of time on it. So you're not going to have tons of free time anymore.
Mm.
So it's important to be using your time with something that you're really passionate about and you really enjoy doing.
So just finding the discipline and the energy to
Yes.
continue pursuing this. That's great. That's really great insight. For all of them, I'm going to toss this open. We're hopefully coming out of COVID, right? We've hopefully seen one of the last strains of this, or at least one of the ones that's going to force us to shut down. And, the world so desperately needs a fresh look at so many different challenges, at higher education, at healthcare, food insecurity, housing, global. I mean, all of the challenges that we are facing are multiplied by 1,000, it feels like now, coming out of COVID, and the need for really creative thinking. I wonder if any of you, all of you, would like to just reflect on entrepreneurship at this time and why it's so important for the challenges we're facing. Seema, you want to take a crack at it?
Yeah, look, this has actually been one of those moments that entrepreneurs for the first time have been able to take a pause, like it or not. And what I mean by that is you're always working so hard in your business, right? It's constant operations. It's this, you play a lot of different roles. And so I think through COVID, when you take a pause, you could figure out or really look at what's working and what wasn't in businesses. And for some, because of what was occurring, their customer was just, it didn't work anymore. Their business does not work anymore. So the people who quote unquote started thriving were the ones that started to listen to what their customer needed now. What changed, right? And so for me, there was good moments in COVID, and of course not so good moments, right? But this whole taking a pause, understanding who your customer really is today, because things are just evolved and things are different, was such a critical part. I think that the ones that did thrive through this process really captured earlier on. So that there's so many insights that I've seen with companies that have pivoted and otherwise, but I think the listening to your customers at this time was such an important one for a lot of these businesses to survive.
Yeah, that's such a good insight. It seems to me that that's one of the most important takeaways for higher education right now too, is listening to our students and really hearing what our students are facing and what they need for support and what they need for flexibility and all these things as well. And so you're right, taking a pause and listening to the people you serve, so important. Marc, do you have any thoughts on entrepreneurship and coming out of COVID?
I love what Seema just said, because entrepreneurship is service, right? So if we're not listening and serving our customers or beneficiaries, then we won't be in business. So I love that component. I would add a couple other elements that I think are so important now. One is, Filipe kind of touched upon this earlier, is like Senec's infinite game. It is entrepreneurship. True entrepreneurs look to collaborate, look to work with others, and don't see a finite pie. They see many, many possibilities, right? So that's what's so exciting about entrepreneurship, is this world of possibilities. And the second, as educators, is the empowerment of students to believe in themselves, to take risk, to do things differently than their predecessor. You mentioned that higher education is going to change. You mentioned all the time the fluid student. There's an opportunity for us to really empower this next generation of great, amazing students to change things and solve things in their community through entrepreneurship. I think it's going to be a special time. I think we're really at the cusp that we can empower these students to be better than my generation, quite candidly. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, and thank heavens we have the lab here to help lead on these efforts. So Filipe, what about your thoughts as an entrepreneur looking at the the impact of COVID. Do you have any reflections?
Yeah, so I totally agree with Professor Steren. So entrepreneurship is all about listening. It's all about problem solving. So with COVID, especially, a lot of these problems started to change. It's like problems that maybe existed before, but it was not very in focus. People were not caring too much about it. So things such as remote working or being able to travel, being able to create communities online. So you saw a lot of changes in where like investors were putting their money in and people were putting their efforts on. So you saw a lot of different companies, winning during COVID because they started solving these new problems. So I think that's a great time for entrepreneurship because there's a lot of new problems arising now with COVID. And a lot of these companies didn't solve these problems yet. So you could be the next person solving these new problems that are coming up almost like every day.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you all for that. I'm going to just close out by asking Marc, what's next? Are we going to see the Equity Incubator next year? Is it going to grow? What should we be looking for coming from the lab?
Yeah, so we're really excited about the possibilities with the Equity Incubator. We are going to open up to even more teams next year. I hope to have more mentors, amazing people like Seema and great judges like Alf. We really want to be that epicenter of social entrepreneurship and give these students and the community an opportunity. So it will be much bigger and even better next year.
Fantastic. And Filipe, will you be back? At least maybe you'll be a judge this this time around. That's great. Yes. Awesome. And Seema, can we count on you to be a mentor again for
Absolutely. If you're asking, I'm there.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you all so much, not only for joining me tonight on this podcast, but for all you're doing to promote entrepreneurism, to promote the entrepreneurial mindset, to live it, and the enthusiasm that you bring to it. It's wonderful. It's very inspiring, and I can't wait to see the lab grow and these programs grow. Filipe, can't wait to see Code and Play grow and reach more and more students and adults so they can develop the skills of coding and digital technology. And Seema, very excited to watch Disruptive continue to grow and serve more and more people and help more and more people on the road to success. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anne. Bye, everyone.
Bye.